April 7th, 2021. We'll take a look at the agenda. Does anyone have anything to change on the agenda?
Yes, me.
Bruce, go ahead.
I just want to add very quickly a discussion of us going back into the office next month.
Okay, yeah, so when we talk about the select board member update, I have a thing in there, I'll put your name down too. You want to talk about that, Bruce, okay?
Thank you.
And I'm going to add under email, the Stan Noga's email, we can talk about that regarding cable in Brookline. So I'll just add that that came in this morning, that email. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Well, all those, okay, we don't have to worry about that. No scheduled members present, right? Okay, and no unscheduled members. So next we go to the minutes from March 17th, 2021. Are there any changes on the draft on page 1?
Huh? Draft. What?
Well, the minutes.
Oh.
Page 1, any changes?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, I noticed a couple of things wrong.
Okay, page 1.
Yeah, under B, James Robert, in the second paragraph it says embers. I think it was supposed to be members, maybe.
Yes, I'm sure you're right.
Okay.
And I have one other in that paragraph.
Okay, what's the other edit?
Under Mr. Jones.
Okay.
Some. Do you see that?
Okay.
Read it. Past Mr. Jones. It says some. I don't know what that means.
S-U-M-E, S-U-M or S-O-M-E?
Oh,
S-O-M-E.
S-O-M-E. It's just duplicate. A duplicate
It's
word.
just duplicate. It's just duplicate, Peter.
Got it.
Okay. Anything else on page 1?
No.
Okay, how about page 2?
Sorry, can I just say there was I saw one other thing. Peter, also under B, the paragraph that begins, Miss Maggio discussed a letter of February 10, 2020. It should be 2021.
Oh.
Not that it really matters, but just in case for some reason.
Okay.
Do you see where that is?
Yeah, I'll get it.
Okay, cool.
All right. Anything else on page 1? Move to page 2. Any edits on page 2?
Yep.
Right, Bruce, where do you see it?
Under building commissioner, Bruce Mello, in the first long sentence, it said bat guano everywhere. Shouldn't be that. It should be, if there's reference to everywhere, it should have been mice poops.
Wait a minute, let me get straight.
Oh,
I don't have
okay.
this in front of me, but you're saying I have the wrong kind of poop.
Yes.
I don't want to accuse you of anything like that,
But
Peter.
it was everywhere.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And guano. Okay, so yeah, poop, mice, turds, whatever. Anything else on page 2?
Nope.
Nope.
Page 3?
Yeah, I got a couple more.
Yeah, did you get the electric one?
Yep,
No.
Dampier.
Yes.
But just above that, Mr. Lomel.
All right, so let's do one at a time. It says here, it says Dampier was called to fix the exterior lights.
Right, that's how you spell it.
Dompier.
Right. And the paragraph before it, my name was spelled wrong.
Oh, Mello.
I mean the line before it.
Okay, yes. Anything else on page 2? 3?
Nope. Not me.
Page 4 looks pretty short. Perfect. Okay. All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes from Wednesday, March 17th as amended signify by saying aye.
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 Is there a
Any
motion?
opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the minutes are approved as amended.
I missed the motion, if there was one made.
Oh,
Let's
Right.
say that I made a motion.
thank you.
I made a motion
Welcome.
to approve them,
And I seconded it,
and Dot seconded.
and the motion passed unanimously. I got to remember my rules here. Thank you, David.
Okay.
Okay. Next up is Wyndham Solid Waste Management District regarding the termination of the memorandum of understanding that was signed November 28th, 2017 for the loan of roll-off recycling containers. The bill of sale offered for recycling container is conveyed as is, where is, with all faults, conditioned without any warranty or merchantability or fitness of any purpose. There's a discussion and a vote about what to do about that. So
Does it make sense, Dot, for maybe me to just give a little background on this real quick?
thank you. Yes, David. Thank
I
you.
am.
So the situation is that, you know, when we started with the recycling after the solid waste management district closed the recycling operation, we got to take some recycling bins, those big bins, right? And we did, maybe people remember, maybe you don't, they sent us a memorandum of understanding at the time that basically said, we're loaning you these 3 bins for you to use, and at some point in time, we can take them back if we want, or whatever. So the district has decided now that rather than continue to have these as part of their inventory, when really they don't know where they are, they don't know what condition they're in, they're really essentially something that's being managed between us and Triple T, mostly Triple T. So it was decided at last month's meeting that basically they would be given to us. So, which is good, because there was a time when there was a possibility that the district was going to take them back and we were going to then have to rent something. But they want us to sign this document that basically says, okay, we accept ownership, whatever that means, of these bins, and they will no longer have any responsibility for them, and they'll no longer care about them. So the only real question, I think, I mean, obviously Triple T has these. We don't even know where they are. Triple T has these 3 that were originally loaned to us. They have ones that were loaned to Jamaica. They have ones that were loaned to Wardsboro. They have ones that were loaned to, I think, Townsend, possibly. Exactly where those bins are, Triple T presumably knows, but we have no way of knowing that. I personally think we should have a discussion with Triple T and say, why don't we just give these to you guys? I mean, you basically have them anyway. I mean, they have total control over them. I don't really see why they would have a problem with that. They take on ownership of them and continue to just use them at our site as they do. The only issue might be whether there are liability concerns on that Triple T may, but quite frankly, if there are liability concerns, they're probably concerns that are happening right now anyway, that, you know, if it's sitting in our location and it bursts into flames, and somebody's standing right next to it, who is liable for that activity? I honestly have no idea. I think it's possible that the policy for liability and coverage that we currently have through VLCT might already cover us for something like that happening on our property, which is essentially what that recycling area is. So I don't know that we really need to do anything different about liability coverage, whether we own them or not. But so that's kind of what the background is, exactly what we do, other than the fact that we do need to, by June 30th, get back to them and tell them, yes, we will take them, essentially.
Dave, I have a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do we have any choice in which ones we get? Because I notice sometimes we get those ones that the openings are straight up where you can't pour the stuff into and the other ones are better just from the standpoint of, people will be more inclined to throw it on the crap on the ground.
Right. In practice, no, we don't have any control over that because Triple T has to, the reality is they can't give us a new one without taking away a full one. And in order for it to be as cost effective and time effective, they then have to bring an empty one to take away a full one. So there has to be more than one of them. And the reality is we got and they got through other towns, some that are better and some that are worse. So the reality is on some unpredictable schedule, sometimes we get ones that are not as easy to use, and sometimes we get ones that are easier to use. But there's no way to control that, and there's not really any way for them to be able to control that either. Sorry,
Dave,
ahead,
so basically, I read that. I'm trying to remember because it was a couple of weeks ago, I think. There's towns that are gonna they're not gonna do it now. So, I didn't ask that right. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. There was 3 or 4 or 5 of us that are going to have to do something about the dumpsters. Correct?
Yeah. Well, all of the towns. There are other towns also that don't use Triple T, that use a company called TAM, that also have dump. All of the towns are in the same situation. So one of these letters went out to every single town that had been loaned bins, not just us. It's everybody is in the same situation. And there's really no reason not to, because the other option, I guess, is we could say we don't want them, and we would have to return them to the district at our expense, because that's the terms of the original agreement we made with them. And B, we would then have to start renting bins from Triple T at an increased cost.
Yeah.
So we definitely want the bins to come to either be owned by us, or perhaps in turn we pass ownership somehow to Triple T. I don't know exactly how we resolve that, but it doesn't change the fact that we want to agree to this because it's in our financial best interest to agree to it. If the voters had voted down recycling and we weren't still offering recycling, it would be a different story, but obviously that's not the case.
Yes.
Right. And since we have 1 year for a future year of recycling to do because of how the town voted, I don't think it would be a good idea for us to change what we're doing for like purchase or rent new ones. If we're
Right.
if we're going to vote on it again next year at the town meeting, recycling, then we might have some other.
And if they vote it down, we can also always recycle the damn things, right? If it came to that.
Well, if we gave ownership to Triple T, then Triple T would be able to sell them or scrap them, or use them for your other companies. Or other companies.
Right, exactly. Ultimately, and we don't necessarily have to pass ownership of this to Triple T. I mean, in practice, owning these bins doesn't really mean anything to us as a town. like I say, unless I don't know what the specifics of our liability coverage are in relation to that site and those bins, we will have to consult. I don't know if Wade Majeur is still around, or Wade or somebody like that, to find out. It's possible that that's already been, that some amount of liability coverage has already been built into our policy because we have that location, because it's property we own, but I don't know that.
Okay.
Can I say something?
No. Yeah. Yeah, Gwen.
I agree
Hi,
with
Gwen.
David. I think that our best interest is to give them to Triple T, because if we don't and we end up losing the recycling, we're going to have to pay to get rid of them. So if they're willing to take them, let them have them. We've still got the use.
Yeah, she's got a point.
I see this. David brought up some good points. I see this as twofold. One, we need to contact VLCT to see about our liability for the property and those pieces and those containers. And two, contacting Triple T to see if there is interest in being the owner or of them.
Yeah.
So I can. Is there anybody who would like? I don't mind calling VLCT. Do you want me to call Triple T, or David? Did you want to get involved in that, or Gwen?
I'd be happy to call Peter at Triple T and just explain this. I'm sure other people are calling him. I'm sure he knows about it. So yeah, I'm fine to call him and ask just whether, if we could figure out a easy way that didn't involve all of us having to hire lawyers or something to do it, that we could just give them these bins, which they essentially, like we say, we essentially already have done that, because they're the ones who possess them 90% of the time anyway. I'll call Peter and ask him just to get their take on whether they would have a problem with taking ownership of them or not. Not that we have to decide now if we're doing that, but at least know if that's an option.
All right, and then I will contact tomorrow. I'll come into the office and I'll call VLCT, talk to Wade or whoever's there about the town's liability, and put this on the agenda for next meeting, maybe, or next month. What's the board's request on that?
I mean, I think we've got a little bit of time. I mean, we don't have to
rush.
And if push comes to shove and we're still trying to figure out some of the specifics of what we do, it doesn't mean we couldn't just go ahead and agree to it anyway, because like we say, there's no reason not to agree to it. So I'd suggest we put it back on for like the first meeting in May. Let's give ourselves a little time to research it. Does that make sense to you, Dot?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I set up the agenda planning so that I know what I'm putting down there. Okay, so this will be the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District containers. Okay, for May. All right. Well, thank you. That was very insightful. That's a very good point. I didn't realize that they had at least 3 of them that they rotate for Brookline. So that should be.
Well, the reality is when we first requested bins,
we had
we always used to have 2. So we asked for 3 so that there would always be one that they could swap out. Now, in practice, we probably could get away with there only being 2, but they're part of a whole cycle that Triple T has going on with us and the one other town that uses those kinds of bins. So, but yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, that makes sense. So, all right, we'll follow this up in the beginning of May. All right, so then we'll move on if there's okay with everybody. Oh, let me I think Mark Bills is here.
Hello, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Yes, hello. Hi, Mark.
Okay,
How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good.
Good. Nice weather, huh, bud?
Oh, beautiful. Nice. I like it a lot.
Yeah, the wasps are out now. I better not talk anymore. The chair is going to slap me in the face.
Okay.
Move on. Okay. Next item on the agenda, it says Green Mountain Power Resiliency Zone Community Plan. It's a microgrid project. I had sent you this email. And then I emailed the author of it, Sarah Peary, and she sent me a community profile sheet for us to fill out if we were interested. Basically, it's an opportunity to work with Green Mountain Power. I guess it's the little microgrids. They have done something similar to this in another town or two in Vermont, but it involves, it looks like a little solar array that would provide energy stored in batteries for emergencies in case the town of Brookline has to go off grid for some kind of catastrophe or an emergency. I'm going to give you my 2 cents first. I do think we need some kind of a generator or something for buildings like the town hall for that kind of situation. I'm not sure about putting up a microgrid, but that's where I stand right now. I think it might be a little more than the town can bite off at this time. Although the town that they did put it in Paulet, Vermont, was about the same size as Brookline, but they already had a field of solar panels that were pre-installed before they signed on with this. So if you don't mind, I'll go just ask everybody what their opinion was on it. David, what do you think about this? Something I can follow up on a little bit more if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that this is something that doesn't necessarily make sense for our community. And I think given what it would take to get set up, and I think it's more than what our town necessarily needs, though I can see that there would potentially be some benefit to it. But yeah, I don't think it makes sense for us personally.
At this time, okay. All right, Gwen, what do you think about that?
I'm not really sure, but I'm going to let Guy, he's done a little bit of research, so he has a comment.
Basically, the grid would not just satisfy the town's electrical needs, but it would actually satisfy the whole town. And I don't know what the mechanics involved are, but as we seem to have more and more extreme weather conditions, it's something to consider. Green Mountain Power offers a battery for a home, and you can buy it outright for $5,000, or you can rent it for $25 a month for a 5-year period and then own it. So I'm not sure. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of people who don't, during the winter especially, need to have that electricity, who don't have generators, who maybe have some problems, medical issues and so forth. So I don't know. It's a strange thing, but initially it sounded pretty interesting.
Yeah. Bruce, what do you think?
I got a different take on it. If I remember the letter correctly, because you hit me with a bunch of emails this time, so I ran through them. But anyway, if I understood it correctly, the lady, I think it was a woman, entered the idea of having a discussion with us. And I think we should. I'm more in the line of Guy's thinking. And if we should pursue any avenue when it comes to power in this town, and God knows we haven't had enough power outages. Believe me, we had one yesterday. I had a surge yesterday. I had to play around with my TV and it, but whatever. That's me. Anyway, I think it should be pursued. I think we should just go enter into discussions. Green Mountain Power. I'll even take up the mantle. Be happy to call them and see what they have in mind and see what costs that are involved and report back to you. But I'm not so sure I'm as negative as Dave and you too, Dot, are quizzical about it. I'm more in the line of Guys thinking, let's see what it looks like. Let's see what the numbers look like. Let's see if it's feasible. Because if it can help the town in terms of power outages, boy, that's a sensitive subject with me. I love power.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
You know
that's a
what?
good point, Bruce. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a very good point.
Okay.
One of the
Good.
concerns I had when I looked at this profile, the questionnaire, is do we have a budget available? And can we seek financial support if we need matching funds? So,
Mhm.
so again, this is some questions that I didn't know.
Dot, I'd be happy to call them and see what they have in mind and get in the weeds of it with the numbers and stuff and see what they say. And I can report back to you and see what, this isn't an immediate thing. If I understood it correctly, I can go back and read the letter again.
No,
But
it's
it
not.
seemed like a pretty warm letter, meaning we'd like to discuss it with you. And sure, I talk to anybody, you know me.
I think there's some grant money available for this. I don't think it would come at a terrible cost to the town, but again, I think as Bruce says, that we need to have a conversation with the people and get all the particulars before you can make any decisions.
You know what, Guy, also? Nothing's been mentioned about Efficiency Vermont being involved in this. So I could bring that up to this person and say, are they involved in this at all? I mean, obviously, we're going to get into the weeds real in a hurry about the costs. Yeah, well, okay, what's it going to cost? Where are we going to get the funding? What are our options for funding? How much are we going to need up front? All the details. Because as important as it is, and I think it's important, we got to make it feasible.
All right, well, Bruce, I'll pass along, if I haven't already, I'll pass along any other material. I don't know, did I send out the community profile sheet? It's 2 pages. I'm not sure if I sent that out or not. I just got that recently. But
Okay.
would you like me to put it on an agenda for bringing it up for discussion under old business in the future, in April or May? What would you prefer?
April. I'll do it right off.
Okay.
So I'll call them right away. So if you want to put, well, we haven't set up the agenda for next time, but you can put it on the agenda for next time, Dot. And if I have an issue where I don't feel it's feasible to discuss it, I'll just let you know and you can drop it and we'll move it.
All right, excellent. Very good. Well, thank you. They're working through this pretty well. All right, excellent. Thank you. Okay, the next item that I have on the agenda is VTrans Capital Project Pilot Program. It's a new infrastructure project in Vermont for repaving, striping road sections, roadway reconstruction of a section of the road from the base up, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a, I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the new administration's infrastructure programming that they're planning for or piloting for. But the first thing I thought of when I read this, Mark, Bills, you can probably speak to this, is I know there's a corner on Grassy Brook Road by the little red house as we come up towards past Cynthia Now's and that bend where you wanted to rebuild that roadbed there. And I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a great opportunity if it would fit the the project. That would be very good. Yes.
Joseph Dutton mentioned that.
Can I just ask a question? So is Grassy Brook Road is a class 1 road?
Right, it's not a class
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
road.
Right.
Can I just add to that, because I've been in a couple of meetings? Basically, the criteria for that is that it pertains to class 1 roads, unless you can prove that a class 2 road, which would be Grassy Brook Road, is a conduit to traffic for freight and so forth. It didn't
Oh, my
seem that
goodness.
we fit that criteria at all,
Right.
but it's something that, if you read into, you may find out that it just doesn't fit Brookline very well.
Ah.
Okay.
It does say.
I get where you're going with it. It's like, can I chime in? Is it okay?
Sure.
I get where you're going with that, Guy, but it seems like it's one of these weasel things. Do we have any good, like I asked Mark this, do we have any good connections with Vermont Trans and get into them about it and see? Because I have a feeling, you mentioned, it says infrastructure project in Vermont. Count on it. The money that's coming for the infrastructure
But you got to read go down a little further and it tells you some of the criteria that is for that particular grant. And
I
it's
understand. Okay.
It says that class 2 roads were not included, and we have no class 1 roads because we just don't have them.
Okay.
But, you just have to read the whole thing. And again,
Okay, I
I'm not
didn't.
saying that it's not possible, but it would be
Okay.
a hard haul.
Okay. All right. It doesn't hurt to ask somebody from Vermont Trans just in case they say, well, we have an exception, and it won't be any. It's a grant, so it won't be any money from the new Uncle Joe infrastructure project program because it won't be going through for a while when they're done fighting with it. So it has nothing to do with that. So just a quick contact with Vermont Trans would corroborate what Guy was saying. This way we win this out if we have a chance to.
Gwen, what do you think? Gwen, what do you think about it?
Well, like I said, you have to read all of it. And when I read it and talked, it didn't sound like we qualified.
Yeah.
I guess I was hopeful because I saw it says projects on class 2 in 3 words. It says generally do not qualify unless a case can be made that the project would have a significant impact beyond the town, i.e. major east-west route. And I just know that
yeah, it doesn't fit us.
Maybe you're not, but I just know we needed to get that one piece of roadway fixed that I spoke to that morning.
Yeah.
All right. Would you
You were
like
thinking.
to contact this email originally came from Colin Bratton, and Chris Campy was involved in the email, Wyndham Regional. Maybe I'll give Chris a call and or Colin Branton after I speak with Chris to see if they are aware of any place in our town that might fit this kind of work. Is that all right?
Yeah, you never know.
Okay.
Maybe if we also could ask Archie Clark if he is aware of how that may fit.
Good point.
And there are 2 people from VTrans that contact us on a semi-regular basis. Mark Pickering, I think he's the manager in Dummerston for our area, and also a Megan Brunk, B-R-U-N-K is her last name. Those would be 2 people to get in touch with that may help us with the answers we're looking for from VTrans.
Okay. Well, I can certainly reach out to Archie and VTrans and Wyndham Regional and just see if phone calls are cheap. So maybe we can find something that was going to be useful. So
Yeah.
spend a little bit of time on that and bring it back to let you know how things go at the next meeting. Is that all right?
Okay, that would be great. Yep.
So that's several calls. All right. Mark, in my notes here attached to this hand that I just read, I did get our 2021 town highway mileage report. So I guess that's, David, you had done that earlier this year, I guess?
Yes, we
That's
did.
something, is that the one that the select board has to sign, stating that what roads are what class?
Well,
Yes, that's what we did in February.
Yes, so this is the printout of that report that came in. All right, so you did this in February. Perfect. All right, 16.86 miles of a total of number of highway miles in the town of Brookline. All right, I just wanted to.
Sure.
My desk. All right, so VTrans is phone calls and follow up, and I'll bring that back to the next meeting. All right, the next thing that I put on the new business was an email received earlier this month, shortly after our last meeting, from Dan Trowler, where he had some questions about town meeting thoughts, and he basically had three things that he pointed out. One was getting people involved in getting more people to come and vote and publicity. And so I was very happy to see, Dave, you had given me a heads up on it, but the Brookline, the New Brook newsletter, which is going to be sent out 4 times a year from
4 times.
Yeah, with
every
right
3 months.
it was sponsored by the New Fane and New for the first mailing. So I think that will help in getting publicity if everybody's going to receive it in the mail. The second thing he was asking about was capping the number of appropriation grants that are given out. This year, he calculated it was about 3% of our total budget, and he asked about what do we do to vet these different appropriation requesters. And I know, Guy, you have a binder in the office of when somebody sends in a request for an appropriation, and they usually tell us how their company or they will help, or how they support Brookliners, correct?
Basically, there's a criteria for appropriations. They have to submit a letter of request, and I don't recall the date right offhand, but I thought it was October 1st or October 15th, and how their appropriation impacts the town of Brookline. And any new appropriations are something that the select board can weigh in on and say, okay, we can bring that up at town meeting as an article, or they can just pass it by thinking it is not appropriate for our town. So that's pretty much how appropriations work.
David, correct me if I'm wrong, but this year, because we were doing the Australian ballot, all appropriation requests that came in were put on the ballot, correct? They were not, we didn't
Right,
read out.
they were individual articles. Each one had its own yes or no request by the voters to say yay or nay.
So David,
Right, but what I'll say is that generally speaking, we have always put all of the, with only a few exceptions, I think,
Correct.
over at least in the years that I've been on board,
Right.
with only a few exceptions, we've put forward all of the requests that are made by organizations. And I think, speaking slightly to some of Dan's questions, we have also, as far back as I've been on the board and longer than that, always put forward any
New.
subsequent request from an organization that got approval by the voters the prior year, which is, of course, the vast majority of the appropriations are organizations that get approved typically every year by the town. I think it might be, we talked about a year or two ago and never really fleshed it out. We talked about having a more strictly defined appropriations process so that we might have a document that we could share with organizations and other people saying, this is how appropriations work. Because it is a little potentially subject to change from year to year, depending on the board and the feelings of people at that time and whatever. It might make sense to revisit that at some point. I will say just, I mean, I appreciate Dan's thoughts on this, but some of the things like the rating system concept, I think would be maybe not impossible, but would be at various points highly subjective.
Yes, it would be cumbersome.
As to, determining what benefits someone or doesn't benefit someone else is an extremely subjective decision. I think certainly this past year, by giving the voters all the ability to vote yes or no on each individual organization, I think we left it to voters to decide whether they personally think there's benefit to one organization or not benefit to another organization. I'm not sure how we would work both giving people full control to decide for themselves, but also rating them somehow on our own. I'm not that doesn't seem like it would really probably work. But
Right. I agree. The last thing in his letter was about the recycling, and I certainly don't mind calling him back and following up and telling him what we discussed tonight, with our new issue with the containers and the ownership, and the fact that I know he was referring to Athens has a municipal trash and recycling collection program that they have for their residents and selling bags and such. Again, I'm not sure if this is something that we're ready to get involved in at this time, but anybody else have any comments?
the thing I would say is, I mean, I don't know the particulars of Athens, but you know, in order to collect trash like that, you would have to either contract with someone who would do it for the entire town, I guess, or you would have to establish a transfer station of your own, which obviously involves staff at that to receive things. I mean, I strongly suspect that there are a whole bunch of other costs involved in what, if this is really what they're doing, I suspect that there's a whole bunch of other costs in this that maybe aren't evident from the few things that have been detailed here. But at the end of the day, I think almost any of these things would involve paying people to do things that we as a town don't currently pay people to do, which obviously comes at a cost.
I see. Yes, I agree. And I know Athens has a full-time staff for roads and yeah. So, all right. Well, I will get back to Dan and tell him that just have a short discussion with him. I like it if residents do write in and have concerns, and it was thoughtful that we do, approach it and discuss it. So, all right, we can move on. Anybody want to kick in on this?
Yeah, I want to say something, I guess. What else is new, right? I think it's really, I put him down to he actually sent out the email first before everything else came at me. I said, I got to go back and read his letter. Because I wanted to respond to him. And of course, especially because you put it on the agenda tonight, but I'll cut to the chase. I think what he said straight up really set with me really good. I mean, it's just great. I mean, he hasn't been in town a long time, the way I understand. And the fact that he's trying to involve himself in the community, oh my God, how about 50 more? Thank you. I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, he might come up with good ideas. He might come up with bad ideas. But just the fact that he gave us some input and cared, I think it should be observed.
That's correct. That's why I wanted to put it on the agenda. And I did send him an email or two and told him we would discuss it tonight. So,
okay.
Can I just ask a question?
Certainly.
I liked his idea, quite frankly, about, the town paying for a vendor to pick up all trash and recyclables. And I would be curious to see what that would cost. I think it would be an interesting exercise to bid out to the different vendors to see what that would cost versus what our recycling costs. And maybe there may be some answers there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it could be something that if this time next year and next March, I should say, if we're working on the town plan or the town meeting, that and if we're going to put questions about recycling, we might want to add something. So if we do our research this year, it might be something that we could work on, and I can certainly put that on my to do in the future list. But I did want to follow up on that. All right. Anybody else before we move on? Okay. All right. The next item on our agenda was an email we received from a Mr. Roy McEwen from McEwen Photography. He wrote that he would like to, he was looking for suggestions for areas where he could come and fly his drone. I'll tell you two things before I pass it on and ask other people's questions. he wants to fly the drone around 3 to 5 spots in different towns. It's a project that he's working on. And I spoke with Guy. Guy has a drone. Guy, you want to tell us a little bit about the laws with drones, and then I'll tell you what I thought we could do.
Well, the laws are pretty vague, quite frankly. One of the important ones are that obviously you can't fly around airports. You have to be careful about
You're
privacy rights. But quite frankly, there are no zoning violations if you flew your drone above Brookline, which I have done before. And even the introduction to our town meeting before was a drone photo. But I just don't know. Basically, if someone wanted to fly their drone over the road, the road structure of Brookline, they probably could.
Mm-hmm. Okay. David, what do you think about this kind of request?
I mean, I don't want this to be disrespectful of this guy in any way, but I mean, he's obviously just sent a bulk email out to everybody, all of the towns in Vermont, hoping that people will figure everything out for him and tell him if it's worth coming to their town and filming. And I mean, I don't even think we should waste time talking about it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the guy wants to actually reach out to us in a specific way and explain what it is he's planning on doing with this project that he's potentially going to create, then sure. I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't be helpful, but I mean, my bet is he's never even heard of our town. And he probably hasn't been here. He doesn't know, like I say, he's just sent this email to all of the towns in Vermont. So when he gets a little more specific about it, I'm sure he'll contact us again. Mm-hmm. And maybe we can help him at that point. But otherwise, I think it doesn't really warrant even the amount of attention we've given it.
Okay.
The only thing I would like to add is that if you want to look at drones, Google has everybody's house, everybody road, everything. Google does what it wants, when it wants. So, it's kind of a strange situation that he's asking for permission.
That's true. Anybody else want to put 2 cents in on this?
Yeah, I'll say something. What else is new, right? I read that letter, and I'm really, as a general rule, really against drones flying over. But I thought his letter was pretty nice. But if what Dave is saying is true, or this went out in a bulk email and doesn't even know the town of Brookline, I think Dave is right at the end of his statement saying, come visit us, come to a select board meeting, talk it out. If it means that much to him, it could be pursued further as far as I'm concerned. But just to give him carte blanche at this point.
Here's a little tip for how you can tell. A, it's addressed to whom it may concern. B, it never mentions our town. C, it is addressed to himself and blind CC'd to the list of however many hundred addresses he sent this to. So, I mean, it's, again, I don't think my spam filter would have let me read this had it not been forwarded to me. But, that's fine. I'm not
too swift of foot with computers, but I'm working at it.
It's interesting how we all approach this. I thought, oh, geez, I don't want to be given permission for somebody to fly over somebody's house and they don't want to have a drone. And I was going to say, let people contact him directly in Brookline if they wanted him to drone visit their house, like through putting out his phone number on Julie's listserv and saying, this gentleman would like to visit Vermont with a drone. If you're interested in having him fly over your house, contact him. But so I think David had the best idea, and that is we'll just sit back and wait. If he really wants to come to Brookline, he can write to Brookline and not do a mass email.
Yeah,
Peter,
probably
I think
right.
Peter has a question or wants to make a comment, Doc.
Okay, Peter?
Yeah, I'm the clerk of the Planning Commission in Whitingham, and we just about finished our town plan, and the laws about aircraft leave towns with very little recourse at all, especially with aircraft that's small. So it's probably pretty well moot, but it is interesting that the guy is at least asking. I think that's good PR for a photographer who does drone stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
So,
yeah,
mean, he
I
didn't
kind
have
of
to
got
ask.
that.
He could just
impression.
do what he wanted, pretty much.
Right,
Right, but he had the decency to notify everybody. Yeah.
right. He's hoping to take pictures in all 251 towns, I guess, but, all right,
Okay.
well, we'll pass along on this one. I did, comes in the mail and I thought I'd have to share that.
Okay.
So I'll move that to my other file when I have nothing else to do.
The other file when you ever get to it 3 years from now.
All right, moving along. Listers, Helen Holt emailed that she cannot access most of the as-billed grand list files in Nemrick and therefore needs a quorum of the select board to email the authorization to them. So I don't see any. Guy, do you have any? Can you explain what this Nemrick is and how her problem, if you don't mind?
Emmerich has a policy that for someone that wants to access, records, they have to have a permission from the select board. Basically, she needs these records to be able to go back and forth and look at different things. It's just a procedural thing, but I would strongly suggest that the select board approve it.
Okay. Does anybody else want to discuss this before I make a motion to grant her such access? Hearing none. I'd like to make a motion that we allow the Helen Holt and Michael Bills to access the necessary, give the authorization to access the necessary Nemrick files as needed in order to complete the job of lister. May I have a second?
I second it.
Seconded.
I think Bruce got in there first. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of confirming authorization for the listers to access the Nemrick files as necessary to do the job, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Bold but not slow.
Hearing none. I will send off a letter to, what is her name? Penny?
Penny Muzzy.
Yes, Penny. I'll send
Yes.
off a letter email to Penny authorizing that to happen. Thank you very much. Okay.
Welcome.
Do me a favor, CC. Could you CC Helen also?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes, I will. Email from, okay. As you are aware, we received after, I guess it was on the evening of the vote, March 24th, Shelley Bremer regretfully asked to resign from the Brookline Select Board due to personal reasons. I guess we need to accept her resignation with regret. And officially then we have 4 selectmen on our 5-member select board. That will mean, however, that nothing changes as far as getting a quorum. A quorum means that 3 out of the 5-seat select board must agree in order to pass or pass a vote. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Shelley Brimmer with regret for her 1-year term on the select board. Any discussion? Oh, no. Can I have a second?
No,
I'll second.
second it. Whatever.
Gwen seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none, the Brookline Select Board accepts the resignation with regret of Shelley Brimmer from the Select Board for her 1-year newly elected term. I'll send you. Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, next one is a sort of.
But,
Yes, sir?
Did we
well,
actually
you
vote
spelled her
that?
name wrong.
I'm
Shelby.
sorry.
Was
Shelby? Oh,
Yes. Just
thank
wanted you to
you.
know that.
Okay,
you don't
thank
get,
you.
so you get garbage for it.
Yes.
Can I just ask that? I don't think we actually voted on that motion that you made.
All right.
And
Uh,
we
let me
probably
see.
should just because we made a motion.
Yeah.
All those in favor of accepting with regret the resignation from Shelby Brimmer signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passed. We will accept her resignation with regret and work with a 4-member board until such time that we find a 5th member if necessary. Okay. The next piece of business, email from the Wyndham Regional Commission regarding a time-sensitive opportunity from the Vermont Department of Public Service, which will donate a Wi-Fi spot in town for the community to use. It will be installed during the next few weeks. So it's here for discussion. I read through the program. I would like to follow up on it. I think our town hall would be an ideal parking lot for a Wi-Fi spot. They wouldn't have any financial costs. The signal would be the town signal, which would be encrypted for Wi-Fi use for the public in the parking lot. David, we'll start with you. What do you think about the following up on this?
I think we have discussed this in the past when it came up, and I think I think had concerns about what we needed to make available as far as our Wi-Fi at the town office is concerned. We would have to make a publicly available password, either password-free login to access our Wi-Fi, or have a poster sitting out there that told everybody what the login and password was. I mean, in theory, our Wi-Fi at the town office, quite frankly, is probably already strong enough to reach that, because all this is, if I understand it correctly, is essentially a booster for a Wi-Fi signal, or to provide Wi-Fi where Wi-Fi doesn't exist. We have Wi-Fi at the town office. The question is whether we make it easily accessible with no restrictions to people who want to sit in the parking lot at the town office.
Can I address that, Dot?
All right, Guy, and then we'll ask Gwen.
Okay, the bottom line is that the town of Brookline already has a hotspot. It's a public hotspot and people use it quite frequently. I had a conversation with Chris Campy today and getting a clarification on what the Wi-Fi hotspot entails. And basically, they would put up an antenna or a repeater in an area where someone would say, yes, you can use my Wi-Fi, and the repeater would be used by anyone who wishes to use it. The Newfane Library does it, and the signal goes out almost as far as the common, and that seems to work pretty good. But as I said, the town already has a Wi-Fi hotspot, and we use it already, so I'm not sure if there's a little redundancy there.
Okay. Gwen, what do you have to say?
Well, I think it's a good idea. And well, right now our Wi-Fi hotspot does require a password. So if somebody does want to come in and use it, they get the password from Guy. And if he knows the person, he gives it to him. And so the only thing that I think's good with the Campy one is that apparently it's set up so anybody can use it and does not affect our Wi-Fi at all. Am I correct?
It would come off our Wi-Fi.
But it wouldn't affect our service.
No.
It would have to affect it, though. I mean, that just physically, that's not. I mean, the reality is if someone sits in the parking lot at the town office and decides to download enormous files for hours on end, that will have an impact on the internet service at the town office. I mean, they're not talking about establishing an independent internet service for this. It's piggybacking off of our internet service. I don't think I don't think that's genuinely something that we need to probably be concerned about, but that is The reality is it could have an impact
okay.
on the service in the town office,
Mhm.
theoretically.
Yep. And I agree with you. We don't have enough of places where they could put that repeater or tower where people could pull off the side of the road. Someone will have to pay for that internet service. The repeater is just a field where that signal reaches. So I don't, like I said to Tom Cavett, I didn't think it was a good fit for Brookline, but that's your decision.
Mhm. Bruce, what do you have to say?
Questions. What else is in there, right? First off, Guy, do you think the range is of the Wi-Fi hotspot that we have at the town office? Because you mentioned that the Newfane one goes up to the common.
Our hotspot, our Wi-Fi hotspot is probably the parking lot and or probably within 20 or 30, 50 feet of the parking
Okay.
lot. The vendors like Belco, the telephone company, different vendors use it on a regular basis.
I see. And obviously we would have to pay for the service.
No, the service is there. Basically what they're doing
It's
is
just a
they will
repeater.
put the equipment, and when they say equipment, they're putting up an antenna or a repeater, and it comes off of our Wi-Fi. There's no additional charges for us because we already have Wi-Fi. But I will say this, the town's Wi-Fi is given as given to us by Comcast at no price.
Okay, but how far, if we did that, it piggybacks off our Wi-Fi, so it's not as if, I'm just using this as an example, you can't put it over at my house expecting to use it through the town. It has to be close to the town office in order to piggyback off of the Wi-Fi from Comcast. Yes?
Right. The repeater has a short distance, maybe a couple of 100 feet, maybe around where that repeater is. It wouldn't cover the whole town, or for that matter,
Okay.
much further than,
Yeah, what I had in mind was the church, but that's too far away.
But the church would have to have its own Wi-Fi so that you could piggyback off that Wi-Fi.
Right.
That's not going to save us anything, right? So
No.
Dot.
Well, the only thing that the only logical place would have been town hall. I mean, I from what I'm hearing, I guess do we advertise our hotspot in the parking lot?
No.
No, I don't think it's out there for the general public to know. And I don't know if that's something that Comcast could do for us. But the bottom line is that we have a public Wi-Fi. And if you have a public Wi-Fi, people need to have the ability to access it.
So what I said was, is this something that we should advertise through maybe the email blast that we have a Wi-Fi can be reached in this town hall parking lot by using this passcode such and such? Or should we leave that well enough alone?
Well, I just think that David made a very valid point. If someone is out there, and we've had a few people out there who download photos and videos and so forth, it could at some point be a little troublesome for the town.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
But we're not blocking that from happening at this time.
It doesn't seem to benefit us.
No, we do not block it. Other than the only thing, if it became an issue at this point, I could just change the password.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, well, let's go through, we'll do a yay or nay to follow up on the Wi-Fi hotspot donation opportunity. Yay means yes to follow up on this a little bit more, and no means we'll drop it. Okay, Bruce, follow up.
You would have to ask me. Can I go last?
David, there's only a few of us. David?
Well, I'm going to qualify mine by saying no, I don't think it makes sense for us to have anybody donate a Wi-Fi hotspot to us because we already have, but that isn't the same thing as whether it might make sense for us to add to their statewide list the details for how to access our Wi-Fi at the town office.
Oh, that's correct. That was something.
Because remember they're part of what they're trying to do, I think, I don't want to speak for them, but I believe what they're trying to do is to create as extensive as possible a statewide network of free Wi-Fi hotspots that people can access when it's not just people in our town, it's people who are driving through our town and suddenly realize that they have to get a hold of their doctor, or they have a telehealth visit or something like that. They intend and have already to publish a list of these places where people know they can go and access Wi-Fi for free. We don't need to have this repeater that they're offering in order to do that right now. I'm not saying we should, but that's basically a separate discussion.
Mhm.
We
Okay.
are already listed as a hotspot on the Comcast calendar.
Right,
Okay.
but this is something that Wyndham Regional is putting together, something that has nothing to do with Comcast or any that's not specific to the internet provider.
Mhm.
And unless I'm mistaken, Guy, the Comcast, that Xfinity open Wi-Fi thing, only something that's accessible by people who are also Comcast Xfinity customers. It's not just anybody who can access that open.
No, if you have the password, you can sit out in the parking lot and
Right.
access the internet.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. But we have not published the password to that on Wyndham Regional Commission's list, have we? That's what
Not
they're
that I know of.
asking for.
No, not that I know of.
Okay. All right. So David, you're saying no to the repeater. However, to become a participant in the statewide mapping of Wi-Fi hotspots, which may involve putting a poster in our message board with the password for people to pull in and park and use it.
I think that's another discussion to have with Wyndham Regional, because I think actually Wyndham Regional, in order to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, actually possibly wants a completely open access point that people can come to that doesn't have a password at all. But anyway, for the purposes of what they're talking about as far as what is time sensitive, I think we should say no to the donation of some equipment to us, because we don't have a use for that, to
Mhm.
Guy's point.
Okay. Gwen?
I say no right now because what we have now seems to work for us.
Okay. And Bruce?
I concur.
Okay. All right.
How simple was that, huh?
All right. So I understand where everybody's coming from. I just love hearing the way you all think. It's I see what you're
Love us.
saying. We have access to the community. That might be something to discuss in the future about making it more public for people in town to know about. But all right, we'll move on from that unless there's anybody else who'd like to talk about the Wi-Fi. If not, 7:25. Oh, I'm a little late here. Old business. This should be quick.
Yeah.
Windmill Hill Pinnacle Association acquisition of 187 acres of land in Brookline to be conserved. They asked for a letter, a discussion, and vote. Last month, at the last meeting, it was decided that a letter would go out to the budding landowners. There were 6 of them to the 187 acres of land in Brookline. I did write a letter to each of them. I did receive one phone call this week that I spoke to Sharon English. She was a little concerned because she thought that it was land to her north. She is the most northern resident in Brookline, and I told her it's land to the west across the street from her. She was fine with that. Other than that, I received no other comments from any of the other people. So, and then David revised the letter that was suggested that the select board signed. David, it's a very nice, very well written letter. I think you passed it on to everybody else in the,
Well, that's credit to those guys, to the Pinnacle Association. I didn't write it. All I did was make a couple of edits of just
Changes.
removing a couple of things. They wrote the whole thing.
yes, but you actually put the select board list at the bottom and set it up so it's easy
Okay,
enough.
I'll take credit for that.
You take credit for that, and everybody had a copy of that. So I'll make a motion that we send a letter of support from the town of Brookline to the Windmill Hill Pinnacle Association project conserving forest land formerly owned by the late James Edwin Massey, which includes the 187 acres in Brookline. May I have a second?
Second it.
That. Ha 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 ha.
Now I beat you.
Bruce, any other
I do.
discussion? All those in favor of sending a letter of support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, that was supported unanimously, so we will get that going. All right, excellent. Local emergency municipal plan adoption, discussion and vote. David has updated the LEMP to remove Shelby from the list and very thoroughly put all the other information, email addresses and phone numbers and such for the staff. It looks in perfect condition. I had sent the old draft to Alyssa Sabato last month. She said it looks good, just needs to sign it. I have the a form that I'll have to fill out.
Okay, you have that adoption certificate
Yes,
thing?
I have the
Oh, okay, cool,
adoption.
great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the local emergency management plan as updated on April 6, 2021 and send it in. Can I have a second?
Second it.
Seconded by Bruce. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting and sending in the local emergency management plan for 2021 to Wyndham Regional Commission signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that was approved unanimously, and that will get done tomorrow as well. Okay, next up, summary and update reports. Mr. Town Clerk report, Mr. Tanza. What's new with you?
The office has been extremely busy with refis and some dog licensing and so forth, but everything seems to be under control. We're waiting for some direction from the governor in regards to when we can officially open the town to the public. Right now, we're still doing appointments, which for us are, it works okay, but pretty much I let anyone in because we don't have that many crowds. But everything is going well. We've licensed 50 dogs already, and we have 125. Again, that license, because of Act 92 signed by the governor last March, pushes out the expiration date of the license to 90 days past the time that he undeclares the emergency. So, but as I said before, I would like to see people stay in sync with what they've always been doing. As far as a dog clinic, right now we're looking for May or June when the weather clears up and we could possibly have that vaccination clinic outside, but that still is speculation at this point.
Okay. Anything else, Guy? That's great.
No, that's pretty much it.
All right. I put on here select board members update. I just want to let you know, I've been taking some of the webinars that are being offered through the insurance company or Vermont League of Cities and Towns. One of them was 3 hours and it was 3 different presentations. The last one was only an hour. Very good, nice presentations. You're learning about the Act 92, what COVID restrictions are and how they are being approached. And I feel I'm getting my sea legs as far as being back on the select board with that. So that worked out pretty well. Bruce, you said you wanted to add something under select board member update?
Yeah, you switch things around, but that's okay. You went past me. I'll let you go. Yes, I did want to say something.
Go ahead.
This kind of responds a tiny bit to what Guy was saying about what the governor, waiting on the governor's recommendations. But I listened to the governor yesterday and Lindsay Curley, the Commerce and Community Development Secretary. She's a sweetie. Ooh, whatever. And what's going to happen as of May 1st, that we can go back into public meetings as long as we follow 6 feet, mask. What am I missing? I'm missing something. 6 feet mask or something else. As long, remember back when we first started this, Dave, when it first came about, first we didn't meet and then we met and we had masks on and we, 6 foot social distancing and masks. Yeah. So what's happening now is, and then the governor said, you can't do that anymore. You have to forget it. You have to do it by Zoom. Well, now he's reversing it as of May 1st with us, along with a lot of meetings of public bodies, restaurants, bars, hair salons, gyms. Thank God, so I can go back to the damn gym, on and on. So my point is this. If we all, I would assume, be vaccinated double by the middle of next month, I don't see any reason why we can't start meeting again together in person so I can start hugging and kissing you all again.
Well, I think we'll have to, point well taken. I haven't gotten any vaccines yet, but I'll let you know.
You got to wait 30 days after next week.
Okay.
You're going next week, Dot?
I'm going next week, and then I have to wait a month, and then you have to wait 2 weeks after that one for
Correct.
okay.
So we can do this any way you want. I just want to get back to normal, just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can I just
I
add
haven't
one
seen
thing?
anything.
I was just going to say, David, what do you think of this?
Well, I guess I'll just say, regardless of the vaccine situation for anyone and everyone, I'm not sure that I'm going to readily go back to meeting in person, depending on what works and what doesn't work. This is proving to be way more convenient for me with my real job. So even if all of us were vaccinated and all the restrictions were lifted, which really won't probably be until 4th of July at the earliest. Anyway, I'm not sure that I'm going to go back to going to the office for meetings. I think some form of, like we've talked about before, some form of hybrid meeting is probably always going to be something we're going to want to do, or certainly for a long time. Doesn't mean that if other people are comfortable going into the office that they can't do that. That's fine. I don't know that I'm going to, even if I was comfortable doing it.
A couple of things.
Wait one
Dot,
second,
this
Bruce.
is kind of up to you, really, because you run the meeting. That's the first thing. And second thing, I was also going to recommend, that, especially in light of what Dave just said, is we're going to have Zoom numbers anyway. I would say keeping the public out for a while is probably a good idea. So if we want to meet together or we don't want to meet together, however we decide it, I'm good with it. But I just thought, it would be a good idea to get back in person again whenever, as soon as we can, in light of the vaccination issue and of being well, and in light of what the governor has set aside for May 1st. As far as other people coming in, we have to limit that because of the size of the room, for nothing else. If 5 people, in other words, if 5 people showed up for a meeting, we'd have a problem in terms of 6 foot distancing.
Okay, right. I think in the schools they've changed it to 3 feet, but all right. And then Gwen, what did you have to say?
No, that's not what Dot. That's not what the governor said yesterday. Schools are different. He said 6 feet, wearing a mask, and vaccinations. So I assume he's going to make some kind of order out, because he actually laid it out yesterday. They had 4 different stages ending in July 4th. And then we were in the one group of that I said, meetings of public bodies, restaurants, bars, hair salons, gyms, and others. Well,
Don,
I think it's your call, Don. I think that's where I'm at with it.
Okay,
If you feel comfortable
I hear
while
what
we're
you're saying.
doing what you're doing now, we stay with it. But look, what does everybody feel?
That's what we're doing. So I'm going to ask Gwen next. Gwen?
I personally like the Zoom, especially with us not knowing what it is out there and how I haven't got all my shots. I am compromised because of my age and my health. So I prefer this now because I'm not sure what exactly is going on out there. And I'm not comfortable. I'm comfortable with this. And even though we work in the office, we're very careful. We have a mask on as soon as somebody comes in. They use a hand sanitizer. I stay my distance. So I think for now, until things have changed and we know a little bit more, I'm comfortable with the way we're doing it.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I agree that the Zoom does tend to work out very well, especially since we have it on Fact TV and that people can see it on YouTube videos as well. Electronic meetings are always been allowed, whether it be phone call meetings or Zoom meetings. That will continue even probably more so in the future. Bruce, I understand what you're saying about getting in person and running a meeting that way. I think we just sort of wait and see. Your concerns are valid and getting back to normal. But again, I think we're still in a wait and see. We're certainly not looking at anything for April or May, I would say at this time. So
Fair enough.
maybe
I'm
later on in the
I'm
season.
good with the majority.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think people want to get back to normal, and that's one of the. But we think right now we need to be a little bit more cautious than anything else.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Next thing on here is highways and roads.
No. You passed by my building commissioner update.
Oh,
It's
I'm
a good
sorry.
try.
That's what you meant. That's what you
I
meant by
applaud
pass
your-
by.
My
Okay.
feelings
You
are
for trying
hurt.
to skip past it because it was.
Trying like hell. They were trying to succeed.
I'm sorry, Mark. Let me go back to building commissioner update, Bruce Mellis. I'm sorry, I did skip over you.
It's all
Yeah,
right.
no problem.
Go ahead.
Okay, did everybody receive my letter, my email that I sent through related to the water system? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, one yes.
Yes, we
Yeah, I
got you.
think so.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions about it?
No, I think that unfortunately, I also have a lot of rust and my regular filters aren't handling it. And I had to put in a water softener system with the 2 tanks and such to just to have a good potable water. So I think with the school, that's where you're heading now, right?
Yeah, after I exhausted everything, everybody's opinions, I spent about 5 weeks going through this, listening to people and playing with the system and installing stuff and see the filters and see if that would make a difference. And whom I listened to were the 2 plumbers, Gary Line from Gary Line from Line Well, and the manufacturer Trojan system itself, and took all their recommendations into consult and took some of them, and I'm right back to where I started. I'm afraid that we have no choice because, like I said, we have an obligation, a state rule, state ordinance, I guess it is, part of the water system laws that we have to have a backup disinfectant system as long as there's 25 or more people in that building. So in as much as that disinfectant system will not work without putting the water softener system in, I'm going ahead with it. I've already called Gary Line. He's ordered the water softener system, and I would imagine it's probably going to go in next week. So if anybody else doesn't have any questions about it, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Bruce, what is that going to end up costing?
$2,800. Yeah, ouch is the word.
That's installed.
Now you know why I tried to duck it. I did everything I could.
With his
$2,800. Yes, that's to install it. And then down the road, we're going to have to buy for a maintenance thing to put in it. Dot knows. Dot, did Gary Line call you by any chance yet?
Not that I know of.
No, because he's going to, because I gave him your number to talk to him about your system. But anyway, back to what Dave was saying. The only maintenance what this is going to do, Dave, I've been promised by Gary Line that how this works now is every once in a while we have to add some salt to the system in order as the automatic flushing goes about itself over the course of time, and it completely eliminates hard water, calcium too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that system, the Trojan system, is very sensitive, and I'm working with him to try to make it so that we only have to run one of them instead of two of them. And we have two sets, obviously, that are there right now, and we also have almost complete two sets in spare. So it doesn't take too much rocket science or math to figure out that if I can run off of one and it will last close to a year, like he's saying, it's going to cut down our maintenance a lot. I mean, we've been spending money on plumbers even before this all started. Last year, and back when we first started this, when was it, Dot? About 3 years ago. We were chair of the board when we first started this water system. The maintenance was exorbitant. So if this comes to this point where we go 10 months to a year without touching the Trojan system, it's going to be a huge savings monetarily. And I've had two visits. You're going to see $100 charge from Bovats. That's an hour with me last week to give me another update on how, because I was having problems trying to understand how to take this thing apart. I know how to do it now. So I could pass it along to Mark or somebody else so that we could actually do this ourselves and save us a phenomenal amount of money.
Okay. Well, yeah, let me know when they come in to do the,
okay.
Be a good thing. I think it's something, yeah. We were told.
Dave, you good with my answer?
Yeah, I think this.
Oh yeah, totally. I was just trying to get a concept of the cost of it.
Yeah,
I'll say.
That's all right. I'm not very happy about it.
Based on one that I had installed, not here but elsewhere, that actually I was expecting it to be more expensive than that. So I'm pleasantly surprised that it's only $2,800.
Well, when I talked to him, was it yesterday or Monday? I think it was Monday. When I talked to him Monday, because the estimate he had given me originally was that included with a choice of whether we wanted to go the 60-gallon pressure tank or the 45-gallon pressure tank. So just to be really clear, I said, now this is all in one estimate. You're telling me $2,800 to install this complete. And he said, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know I paid over $2,000 for mine about 10 years ago. So.
Yeah, I have no reason to believe him that he would gouge us. In as much as we saw how he acted when he put in our pressure tank, his dollar figure was really close to what was installed. He installed when it was, I believe it was 4 years ago. I don't have the date in my head, but I think it was 4 years ago. So I'm watching it, and if there's any increased costs, I'll keep it all abreast. But I don't foresee that happening.
Okay. All right. Anybody else want to?
Well, yeah, I got more. I'll go questions. Any more questions about that?
No. Okay.
Okay. Now I'm gonna try and go through this real quick. So take a breath. Where I'm at now is that's being installed. A timer is going to be installed very shortly by Dampier. He's probably waiting for us to pay the first bill that you see on the AP warrant tonight. That's going to be installed, so all the lighting works on the outside. I've called Dave Zaleska. I think he called me first. He's getting ready to retire, so I'm going to try to get him in one more time. One window we missed on the rope. That's about it. I also approached Olivia at the first part of we can ask her if she knew of any carpentry things, because if he retires, he's not going to have insurance, so we won't have anybody to tap in for carpentry. So given what all I've just said, after this is done in the coming, say, 2 weeks at the most, I'm done with the damn building. Now we're at the point where I'll have a maintenance schedule, which Mark, great help, Dave in the past, will be set up, and we can go on the maintenance schedule and the plans that you've heard from me before about. I've selected the 3 vendors to take care of the systems in that place, and that's where I'm at with that. But I want to also speak to you about the other buildings, because I spent 6 hours with Mark several weeks ago going through these buildings, and then I had ServPro come in and look at the town office very thoroughly and make a quote, and looked at the Round Schoolhouse to see if he could make any suggestions for that, and he told me he would. I got a quote back yesterday, and I did not receive anything about the Round Schoolhouse, but he wants about $2,500 to clean that building. Then I said,
the basement
yep.
of the town hall from the mice. Okay.
Which building?
Yep. Now, I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. I know what you're all thinking, if you're thinking the way I'm thinking. It cost us like $2,700 or $2,800 to do the the back guano in the church. And I proposed it to him before he made a quote. He says, yeah, I got to kind of beat up on that, but it was good. This is a discussion we had, but my boss wasn't around, so I got away with it. He said, and then he backed off and said, that doesn't mean this quote will be based on because of what happened last time. I said, okay, thank you. So then he submitted this quote, and I wasn't too happy about it. So I decided this afternoon to go into, I said, well, I'm telling the board, forget it. We ain't going to do this. Mark and I will get respirators on and do some. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. And I'll tell you why. Because it's hazardous. It's maybe not back guano, but it's mice crap, and it can let off. And you have to have HEPA filters, and you have to do it right. So I don't think it's wise to take a chance on endanger anybody in town's, of course I'm speaking specifically to me and Mark, health to clean that up. But in saying that, I'm also under the belief now that we should do it. When we do it and how we afford it, we got to talk about that. We can even put on the next meeting if you want to. I don't think you want me to go long-winded on that right now. We've had a long night. But I'm under the belief that we're going to have to do it. I've really got a real bad problem. I don't mean to send any bad light, Tanzas. 2 senior citizens being in that building with all that back guano and all that bacteria in that place. I don't need sick town clerks. So I'm under the, and I was not in favor of doing this until I did some reading on the internet about the hazard of it. It has to be done right.
Bruce.
So where I'm at is we got to figure out how to do it cost wise and have it done. So I'm open to anybody who wants to.
Bruce?
What's that?
The first thing you have to do is keep the mice out. I got 2 mice in there yesterday and the day before.
Okay, you're right. And how many mice have you been getting?
She just said 2 yesterday.
Yesterday
and where I'm at. And where I'm at.
With the mouse trap that wasn't even set.
Look, where I'm at, and as you're talking about a person who owns a log home, and I've had 4 mice in the last year. What you're having happening is excessive, and you're absolutely 1,000% correct. So I've actually thought about the mitigation part of it. I would assume that the sweep is helping that we put on the down door, but Mark and I talked about this quite a bit when we were together in there, and I'm under the opinion that we have more sealing to do. Example, around the base of the foundation with foam. Example, around the bulkhead, which I think is a majority of the issue. They're getting in through there because if you open the door, let me finish. If you open up the door and look up into the bulkhead, you see all kinds of light. So foam pieces could be put in around there. There's a ways we can mitigate this, but if we don't. Let me finish.
No, hold on.
If we don't clean up the back, the crap, we're not going to see where they're coming in. So that's my problem with it.
Okay, Gwen.
I was going to say
Go
this
at it,
can all
Gwen.
be discussed after the meeting. It's getting a little lengthy here.
Okay, I'm into that. Fine.
I think we should to Bruce's point, I think we should put on the agenda for the next meeting to discuss what we're going to do about cleaning up the town office.
Yeah. And lastly, and I'm done. He didn't respond to about the round schoolhouse, so there's really nothing for me to say at this time. I don't see the benefit of going on and on about that. Like, we can put that on an agenda next time as well.
Okay.
I'm
All
done.
right. That makes
I think.
sense. I understand what you're
I think I'm
saying.
done.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You got to stop the mice from getting in, and if you start with a clean slate, you can have more. Yeah, and
That's the way I did it in my house, and I know where they come in, and I went at it. So you're not going to know. We were assuming, hoping that the sweep would stop the problem, but plus that's not the only thing I did. I think I spoke to this last time. I saw some box joists that weren't toenailed in when they did the part of the addition onto the town office. I sealed them with Roxol insulation. But you really got to go around thoroughly and look, and then you got to do it a week or so later, and then you got to report to Gwen, and Gwen's going to tell you, like, Bruce, I got a couple more coming in, and you have any idea where they came? That's the way this has to work, because this is not going to be an easy, wrong word, quick fix.
right. All right. Well, sounds like you got it under control. We'll follow up on it at the next meeting. Okay, we'll add that to the agenda. That's
Okay.
Yeah, that's awful. All right.
Yeah, I don't want them breathing that crap. It's just not a good idea. I don't like. Suppose Gwen wants to go down and goes downstairs to get some reports. There's bacteria down there, a lot of it. If anybody wants to go down with me underneath the floor of the select board meeting and take a look around, I'll show you. But it's not good.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
All right. Well, I think you made your very solid point. All right. Let's move on because it's getting a little late. We'll follow up on that later on. Mark Bills, road supervisor report. What can you tell us on highways and roads, Mark? Oh, before you start, Mark, I want to say thank you for especially working on that the Brookline Road up past Gary Lavorgna's. I know you were out there at like 3:00 in the morning grading the roads and doing the work, and it's very much appreciated by the residents. So thank you very much, Mark, for your dedication in this mud season of ours. Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's been a long mud season, and I've tried to work with the freeze number to go out and try to correct the road so that they would firm into a flat condition. So it's some days would allow it, some days wouldn't. I actually went out and scraped some mud off the side of the road when we had the warm days and the warm nights without freezing. So it's been a rather tough mud season this year. It ranks up with, number one as far as mud season goes. It's been from one end of town to the other. Some years hardly any issues at the southern end of town, but this year all the roads had issues, and we went out early. When we had the thaw in the winter, and we put down crushed stone over the areas that mucked up right away, and that helped out a lot. We didn't get to cover all the areas, and so some of them suffered until we managed to get some freezing weather back, and we were able to get the trucks back out on the road and the grader. There was a couple of nights where they did get extremely ruddy because we had 60 to 70 degree during the day, and the nights only dropped down into the 40s, so that made it tough. But I'm hoping that we've reached the bottom. We're on our way back up. It's grinding, and I continue to monitor and take the grader out every chance I get to keep them smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
good job.
Now I had one call come in. I'm not sure if there was more calls at the office or I asked Archie. But one call came in a concerned citizen thought we should close the road at one point, and I legally don't think we can close the road, meaning the Athens Road, because it connects our town to their town. I know that Athens had a very tough time with mud. It became impassable at one point. I checked the roads on an everyday basis, morning and night, and I was able to check our road to the town line. Every time I went, there was, in two-wheel drive, I managed to get through and back. I did not put out the road posted signs this year, and the reason for that being is after all the other years that we've had them out, there was times when there was logging going on, and they stayed a little bit too long, and we had a very rough mud season that year. But the thing that I figured the signs are almost useless is we put the signs up, and still we have all these people using the road regardless of how extremely muddy it gets. We have UPS trucks on a daily basis. We have FedEx. We have fuel trucks delivering to houses. We have propane trucks. We have the SAP people who are making maple syrup that have to get back and forth through to their operations. And then there's all the people who leave town. Some of them, I see the same car 4 times a day, sometimes 6 and 8 times a day. So I don't think we can really stop anybody from using the road. But the person thought maybe we could put up a sign that says extreme mud, use alternate route if possible.
There you go.
So I'm thinking that another year, maybe I could have some signs made that would, warn the people before they reach the dirt that we're going through a mud season. So that's something that I'm going to keep in mind for next year. I couldn't get them done this year and get them back by the time the roads were already doing better now. So, but yes, I have spent many hours out since the last meeting and hoping that I've made a good difference. The other thing that I would like to bring up is at our last meeting, we talked about the roadside mowing for this spring or this year. And I called and got a price for 1 week mowing. Is the rental rate is $3,400 for the week, and I had them put us on the calendar for the first week of June. I was hoping for the last week of June, but it was already booked, and the closest I could get to that would be the first week in June. So that's 2 weeks earlier. But I think at that time we'll be able to knock down our invasive species, and that'll put us in a good position for July, 4th of July week. And the only question I have for that is they request a copy of our insurance waiver, and I wondered who do I ask to get that mailed to Fairfields? Who would be in charge of the insurance certificate?
That's the treasurer. The treasurer sends a certificate of insurance.
Mike Masters. Okay.
Okay, I'll send Mr. Masters a request and where to send that to an email. I'll get that to him. Okay, and other than we've had a lot of wind, and the wind has it's helped to dry the roads, but it's also taken down some trees. I got a call from the state police saying there was a tree across the road in Brookline, and by the time I was working out of town that day, and by the time I got there, the tree was cut and put to the side of the road, but I found 2 others at the same time cut those up and removed them. So we've had a little bit of wind damage since the last time we talked. And I believe that's it.
Okay,
Oh,
Mark,
yes. That
one
tree that
quick
fell
question.
down on Grassy Brook Road almost got Ruth across the street, Dano's car. Actually, her brand new car was damaged a little bit by the tree as it came.
Oh, no.
Yeah, had she
Oh.
been 2 more feet forward, it would have crushed her car.
ooh,
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Gee, that's awful. Now, was that
Quick
one of the
question.
dead ones, or was that a live tree that came down?
I think it was a live tree. It was in front of Charlotte Fontaine's house.
Okay, sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Quick
had
question.
another one. That makes 2 in that area this winter. Another one had came down during the heavy wet snow that we got in the end of January.
Mark, I have one quick question.
Sure.
If you cut the grass the first week of June, by August, we're going to be in the same boat with high grass, especially on the corners and so forth. Is there any way to overcome that?
Well, the schedule, if I look for another vendor, it's possible to get a later date, but a lot of the towns were booking ahead earlier this year. And so I was stuck with either late in July or 2 weeks before June. And I know that the first week of July, the invasive species that we've been after mature right around the first week in July. So I was thinking we may be okay to knock those down, and then it all I know what you're saying about we may get a high grass in the late summer, but it all depends on the weather. And if we don't get the rains, we may not need the mowing. But I think for this year, we're okay with the first week in June, and we'll see how it goes.
Right.
And we can always try to do something else later in the summer if we have to.
yeah, didn't we do it
Right.
last year,
I mean,
Dave?
to your point, some of the equipment that you may end up renting for some of the other road work, maybe we'll have some option to do a pass of some mowing later in the summer.
That's correct. Yes, that after our fiscal year, we'll have a new budget to work with, and that sounds like a great possibility. Yeah, if we have the right machine that will accept the brush hog, we could possibly do a few days mowing while that machine is in town.
Perfect. That makes sense.
Yep.
I just had a quick question, Mark.
Sure.
Did those 2 square 1 foot filters that I saw in the boiler room, did you have had?
Yes, those were the 2 in the basement ceiling.
I picked right up on it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's all I got to say.
All right, Bruce, I just want to reply back while you on that question. Though you could hear the blower was working, the filters were, the fan was on, suction, and the minute when I replaced the 2 filters with new, it was quiet. So they were clogged to the point they were making a sucking sound, and when I changed them, it
you know what we're going to do now, Mark? We're doing them twice a year because I don't have to replace any motors or blowers or anything like that.
No.
Thank you very much.
And
Mark?
I also all of the fire extinguishers are checked and good at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark, could you stop by the office and sign a couple overweight permits too, please?
I did. Yeah, I stopped in there. I did one. I got your phone message, and I was there that evening. I signed one, and let you have 2 more.
There's 2 today.
Okay, I will stop in and get those taken care of.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Okay. Anything else, Mark?
No, have you, I punched in late tonight, but did you talk about the salt sand shed, yet tonight?
No.
Was
No.
that on the agenda?
No, I was, sorry, go ahead.
It wasn't on the agenda. David had CC'd us on some communications that were going on from Wyndham Regional. David, you want to
Well,
address
no, I mean, it's premature to talk about it. I was going to ask to put it on the agenda for next time because there's still a
Okay.
bunch of questions outstanding. So I think it would make more sense for us to talk about it next time, probably. Although I will say,
Okay.
Mark, I sent you and Archie where Ron's plans are now. The folks at Chris Hunt, the project manager at VTrans, is looking through them, but I would appreciate you guys just looking at least at the plans to
Sure.
see if there's anything glaringly not what you were expecting, because apparently they've found some issues. So we're just having a few people look at them before we clarify some more of the points and then get it to VTrans.
Sure. Okay. I just, I did open the email and there was so much to read. I didn't,
Yeah.
get through it all. I did look down at the map that shows the new building's position in accordance to the old building. And I do have one concern, but maybe tonight's not the night to talk about it. I looked at the position of the building and which way the roof drains as far as like snow sliding off or snow removal. It looks like when the snow does come off the roof, it may be kind of in the way of the greater shed. And I just wanted to look that over good before we really hold to position of the building. And I was wondering if maybe some grade stakes could be put, to show where that's going to line up with the old building at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd say take a look through them, and hopefully Archie will as well. And if there are questions, unfortunately, Ron has been extremely hard for anyone to get a hold of lately. So, and we're getting to the point where we're on the verge of missing our window of being able to do this year. But,
yeah, I understand. Sure.
But if you have questions about them, either give me a call once you've looked through them or shoot me an email and I'll see if I can try to get something communicated to them or not.
Very good. Yep. Thank you.
We'll talk about it in more detail, hopefully at the next meeting.
Next meeting. Okay. That sounds good. Yep.
Okay. Anything else, Mark?
No, that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we get into the communications. That's already been covered. We talked about the inbox of the Dan Towler, Wyndham Solid Waste Management, Green Mountain Power, Shelby Brimmer, and the drone. We talked about the Wi-Fi hotspot and the landowners. I do wanted to add one more. I sent you out. Stan Noga emailed us about a question about DV Fiber cable company, and I didn't realize that all of Brookline did not have access to Comcast, that they did not run lines throughout. Stan has to step up and make some contact with them, and I just wanted to know what the select board thought about that. David, what do you think?
I guess I'll just note that the DV Fiber thing, this was all last year. Wyndham Regional Commission had a grant and they asked towns to participate initially in a survey, and then they were going to go from there, potentially finding a supplier or a vendor that was interested in possibly running fiber optic cable to primarily, if not exclusively, unserved or underserved communities. And it became fairly apparent very early on in that process that, to my recollection, by no one's characterization was Brookline going to be considered unserved or underserved. And it seemed extremely unlikely that a vendor who did fiber optic was going to be interested in running it through our town, given that we're already largely served by a broadband provider in Comcast. So we sort of stepped back and didn't really go any farther with involvement in it. Now that they've picked a vendor and other towns are signed on, I honestly don't know what the situation is and whether Brookline whether it would ever amount to anything for Brookline or for extremely small portions of Brookline. It's not the kind of thing that I think a vendor is going to run fiber optic cable just to get to a handful of places in the town, probably, but I don't know. Somebody could inquire about it and find out whether there could be any benefit. Sure. I don't see any downside to Stan reaching out and finding out information if he's inclined.
Okay. All right. Glenn, what do you think about that?
I guess it doesn't hurt for him to ask, but I was under the understanding that Comcast was available to anybody that wanted it. If the line didn't go off Grassy Brook Road, they had the option of paying to get it done.
Right. Well, this would be supposedly no cost to people. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't realize that people didn't have
it would definitely be at a cost.
At a cost.
I guess I think his point is that there's no tax implications for the town to be part of this cooperative unit, but what the service would ultimately cost and is probably yet to be determined.
I almost think that a couple of towns
still could be something that ends up being more cost effective for somebody than what Comcast might charge them to run a line. And we don't have any way of knowing that, I guess.
Right. I don't have information as far as who doesn't have Comcast. It wouldn't be something that I would know about. Did you want to say something? And then
there were a couple of towns that for the simple reason that as Dave mentions, there is a cost. I mean, they'll do everything from poll surveys and everything else, and someone's going to have to pay for that. So, nothing's for free, but I was totally unaware that Brookline was that much underserved. It was my impression that Brookline is pretty much well served by Comcast, and they have options of either use network or something else. Even now that Southern Vermont is gone by, the side has been absorbed by Comcast, even greater coverage by Comcast in Brookline.
Okay. Bruce?
TV's what I do, guys. Okay. I'm surprised. Like Guy and Gwen, I thought we were all serviced by Comcast in this town. Personally, I have dishes as well as that. I love Comcast internet and voice. It's worked well for me. After dumping Fairpoint, goodbye, good riddance, go move out of here. But anyway, I'm really into hearing what Stan's a smart man.
Okay.
Let him make a presentation. I'm willing to hear what he has to say. If he can show me that it's marketable, and one more little point. You know how Uncle Joe has been talking about expanding broadband all across the country? I have a feeling this, in the next 2 or 3 years, this is going to all become very competitive because he's going to want to expand anywhere that there's going to be broadband. And so we got to keep that in the back of our mind. But for the immediate, I would really like to hear what Stan has to say. Let him do the research. We have plenty to do. If he wants to step up and find all the information, I'd be happy to listen to what he has to say.
All right. Well, I will contact Stan and talk to him a little bit and let you know what's happening.
Okay.
Anything else? No. All right. Then if we continue on to email, regular mail, that was all done. So I guess we're down to pay orders, accounts payable. So let me hold here. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the payroll warrant number 21-13 dated March 29th, 2021 in the amount of $2,416.71. Can I have a second?
I got a second.
Bruce seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting payroll warrant 21-13 dated March 29th, 2021 in the amount of $2,416.71 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. I actually had signed that at that date, so that one is done.
Is that Frida I hear in the
Yeah,
background?
she's like, it's time for a walk.
Shut up, Frida.
All right, I'd like
I'm
to
sick of looking at those pictures on the side of my microwave. Go ahead. Sorry. I had a moment. Hello?
Dot, we can't hear you.
What?
in the amount of $15,458.90.
Hey, Dot, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you start that over again? You were muted or cut out for the first
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Can you start the AP warning
Absolutely.
over again? Thanks.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the AP warrant number 21-14 dated April 7th, 2021 in the amount of $15,458.95. Can I have a second?
Second it.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accounts payable 2114 in the amount of $15,458.95 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so unanimous acceptance of this accounts payable. Okay, setting the agenda for the next meeting. I have discussion about the recycling, which David's going to talk to Triple T, and I'm going to talk to VL, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, about our insurance. Bruce is going to talk to Green Mountain
Although,
Power.
Dot, I think we decided we were going to put that on the first agenda in May for recycling.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Let me move
That's
it over
okay.
to May. All right. Yep. Goes on over to May. Bruce is going to talk to the Green Mountain Power Company about the resiliency zone, and that will be at the April meeting. V-Trans pilot program, I'm going to call and I'll do that and bring back any information I have on that for the next meeting. Bruce, you're going to do a little more research on the mitigation of the mice problem and come back with us on that.
We're just going to, yes, you're talking about, yeah, okay.
And the salt sand shed, Mark would like to have a discussion of that at the next meeting. So those are currently what we have lined up. Anything else, you can certainly send me an email or call me.
Dot, don't forget me, send me that information on the Green Mountain Power stuff.
Perfect, I will.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Dot, can you ask Mark if he's got any plans for the, where we had the tar put in the cracks, the seal crack thing? Is that on the agenda or in the near future?
Hey, Mark, did you? Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard the question. I did plan to see if we can get another mile of that done this year, but it's not going to fit our budget. Until after the fiscal year passes. So I maybe try to make arrangements to get them in here after the new fiscal year starts.
Okay. All right, we can talk about that again later on in the season for that, 20, 21, 22. Okay.
Sure.
All right, anything else? Anybody have any other concerns they'd like to set up a discussion about? Hearing none. I would like to make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting. Can I have a second?
Second it.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. This evening's select board meeting is adjourned and it is 8:37 PM.